We ready to start, you guys? What do you think? Russ, Andrea, David, Jack, and team?
Ready.
Okay, wonderful. Well, first of all, just want to welcome everybody. My name is Brewster Rose. I'm one of the three co-chairs of the Ohio River Recreation Trail Steering Committee. I live in Cincinnati, kind of a river rat myself, and founder of the Ohio River Paddle Fest and organizations in town in Cincinnati and throughout the region, boating the Ohio. I live part-time on a houseboat in a marina on the Ohio. So like my colleagues who are co-chairs, I'm into this, and I really love what we're trying to do to increasingly make the Ohio River and the communities along it destinations for folks interested in outdoor recreation and tourism. So it's a pleasure to be with you all. And what I'd like to do is just welcome you, introduce my colleague, Janet Hunt, who is sitting next to me in the room we are in here in Augusta, beautiful Augusta. The sun is shining. It's just a beautiful day. And Janet is the head of tourism for the city of Augusta and Bracken County, and she's been a marvelous partner with us. And Janet organized the local participation in this session, focusing on Augusta. And I'd like to welcome her and ask Janet if she could introduce herself and the folks from the community who are part of this Zoom meeting, those who are here as well as on the web.
Well, thank you, Lisa, and thank you all for your support. I've enjoyed working with each of you all, especially when you came to town last week for your visit. Online today, we have Shirley Moorfield, and Shirley is sharing my computer, so I don't know if you can. I'm good. She's good. Shirley is the owner of Parkview Country Inn Bed and Breakfast. That's where we're at today, and she is one of my 100% supporters here in Augusta, and we work together trying to support the bed and breakfast. Here in person, we have Roland Connor. He is a local resident here in Augusta, and very supportive for tourism. Online, we have Amy Withrow. Amy, I've got to know her 2 years ago. We worked together on our first event called the Civil War Battle of Augusta Civil War event that we are planning again this year in September. And so thank you, Amy. Also, Chris Shack with Yachts Kayaking, or Shack's Kayaking. That's
Shack's Yak.
There you go.
We're getting it right. It's a wonderful operation.
I met Chris last summer, and we try to do things to improve tourism, and everyone appreciates when he comes, because there's a lot of people who like kayaking, so that's a good thing for the tourism in Augusta. Judge Executive Tina Teagarden is unable to join us at this moment. Hopefully she will be here later before our meeting ends. She's very 110% on board with tourism, and the group got to meet her last week, and so hopefully she'll join us shortly. So thank you.
Well, wonderful. Thank you very much, Janet. You've been an outstanding partner, and it's been really fun working with you and your colleagues here in this beautiful community. So just briefly, I want to make sure we have a little housekeeping activity going on here. So the agenda is momentarily coming up on the screen with Andrea Ireland with the National Park Service managing this piece. She's a great partner, and you'll hear more from Andrea in a second. But as you can see, we have to welcome. We're going to go into the big picture wrap about the Ohio River and the work of the Ohio River Recreation Trail. We'll review briefly what the Rivertown Review program is all about that we're doing in partnership with the National Park Service, and a brief wrap about the Lewis and Clark Historic Trail and our partnership with them, and briefly some information about our digital guide to the Ohio, resources that are available to you all to promote what you do here and to use to help draw more tourists and people interested in outdoor recreation to the community and the county. And then we'll go into a very engaging, fast-moving effort to pull out of everybody's brain your best thinking about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to outdoor recreation, promotion, and attraction of visitors to the community all of which is designed to make sure we have the best ideas brought out as if we were around in the same room together. We all had Post-it notes. We are writing out what we want to in each of these 4 categories and put them up on the wall. And then we take little dots and go, indicate which ones we think are most important when it comes to those 4 categories. But we're going to do that virtually, and it's a wonderful little process. And I think it will work well for our purposes today. Then we'll share some of the observations that folks who were engaged in helping to review the social media presence, the online presence of the community. What can you learn by checking out online what Augusta has to offer? And then we'll have some comments about this wonderful site visits that we've had here over the last 2 weeks, with some observations from folks who don't have a stake in the game, but just looking for opportunities for exciting experiences in this community, and some suggestions about things that you may already have thought about, most of which I know you've considered, but just this is part of the benefit of having new eyes or fresh eyes on what you all are doing. And then we'll have a brainstorming session about what ideas that came out of your SWOT analysis are ones that you all want to, you think are most important, and we ought to be carrying through this and trying to collaborate on to make reality. So that's the overall review, and we'd like to make sure everybody puts their name and their organizational affiliation in the chat, also with your email address, so we can stay closely in touch with you. This is not a one-shot deal. We're looking forward to collaborating with you over time as we build this network of engaged communities from Portsmouth to West Point, Kentucky, 274 miles of the Ohio River, and work hard with amazing partners in order to make it a destination of choice for people, not only regionally, but nationally, ideally, we do our work. Moving right along here, the next section really is a quick overview of the Ohio River Recreation Trail, and I'd like to introduce David Wicks, who is from Louisville, Kentucky. He's the leader of River City Paddle Sports, which is an amazing organization that promotes paddling on the Ohio in the Louisville area. And David is like the sort of father of this project in so many ways. So David, you love the river. Tell us what's the big deal about it.
Well, I thank you very much for the kind introduction. And Andrea, maybe you could unshare your screen for a minute, just so people can see me. But anyway, this bird that's right behind me is part of my passion for the river. I'm just a fan of biodiversity. This was taken on a small tributary to the Ohio River called Beargrass Creek. And we have a nice celebration of bird life. A high school group is just publishing this week the common birds of Beargrass, and using photographs like this. But that's part of our intent, is to sort of engage people with the river, whether it's bird watching, paddling, kayaking, or canoeing like I do, or motorboats, sailboats, or along the shore with bicycles. And so the river has been historically a transportation corridor. It's been mixed with recreation. For many, many years in Louisville, we've had a very active club, and there's all sections of the river, even before the locks and dams were put in. Now, as you most know, it's a series of lakes with current some of the time, and especially at times with high river, high, tremendous amount of water in flood stages. Right now, our river is about 3 feet above normal pool, which is sort of unusual for this time of year right now. But I say all that because we want to increase this recreation on the river, and we want to sort of share it with the commercial people, share this history. Just one short story. There's a series of old abandoned lock houses on the Ohio River. There were originally 52 of them. And we're in the process, just like upstream of you guys, there at Vanceburg, there's a beautiful abandoned lock house that's part of our history. And so we're all about trying to connect with the history, trying to connect with the biodiversity, and trying to connect with ourselves, and all the same time increasing physical fitness and sort of celebrating the river towns like Augusta. It's just a pleasure to be supportive of all of your work. I've learned so much from everybody up there. And I guess that's the last thing I'd like to say, is that this Rivertown review process and this recreation trail really is connecting all of us up and down the river. There's so many similarities between the development of Augusta and Ripley. You know, everybody has their own unique aspect of it. At the same time, we're linked by this river. And so, you know, the bottom line for me is I just hope you guys upstream from us, including Cincinnati, make sure the river is clean, because whatever you do it, we get it down here. And most of the time, it's not bad. You know, it's still enjoyable enough to go out, but I think it could be cleaner. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jack, who's going to talk a little bit about how we're organized and what is this recreation trail.
Thank you, David. Well, greetings, everyone, all of our friends from Augusta. My name is Jack Sutton. I'm one of the 3 co-chairs. I actually live in Aurora, Indiana, and kind of represent the Indiana shoreline of this group. And if you're seeing my photo and the image behind it, that's our Dearborn Trail that parallels the Ohio and a local riverfront park here in Aurora. And I would invite everyone to come visit. But that pretty much speaks to what our vision is for the Ohio River Recreation Trail. We are trying to achieve an accessible and welcoming recreation corridor with vibrant river towns connected by land and water trails. We got started about 1.5 years ago, and it's really the culmination of a canoe trip that David and Brewster and a number of other people made and floated through Augusta. And I know they visited Augusta and kind of brainstormed the idea of how can we promote the Ohio River corridor for outdoor recreation and other things tied to that would create economic vitality for all the river towns. So in a nutshell, that's what we're trying to accomplish. We're a group of volunteers. There's about a dozen of us that meet once a month via Zoom. We have a lot more folks that are passionately interested and on the email list that get notifications of what's going on. We have a website with a fantastic digital guide, and I think you're going to hear a little bit more about that today. But we're just trying to bring attention to the Ohio River corridor and what it can do in terms of outdoor recreation and what we can do as residents of the corridor to enjoy those assets. One of the things we did accomplish in the last 1.5 years was form a partnership with the National Park Service's River Trails and Conservation Assistance Program. And that's really why we're here today. We developed this idea of Rivertown Reviews with their support. So Andrea Ireland and Russ Clark and Helen are going to kind of lead us through today's activities, but it's a wonderful opportunity for Augusta and about a dozen other river communities up and down the corridor that are taking advantage of the expertise of the National Park Service through this planning grant. So I don't want to eat up a lot of our time. We're going to be respectful of your time and want to complete the session on time. So with that, let me introduce Andrea Ireland from the National Park Service, and she'll go into a little more detail about what they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. So I'm Andrea Ireland. I'm with the National Park Service with a program called the Rivers Trails Conservation Assistance Program. That's a really long word for a program that goes out into communities and helps them to get projects done. Projects of all kinds, whether it's long water trails, multi-regional planning efforts, little 1-mile trails around a park that could be a game changer in a community. We do a variety of things, not all within park boundaries. We fulfill the second half of the mission of the Park Service, which is going out into the communities to help them realize on the ground success with conservation and recreation. And so I am with RTCA, also Russ Clark. Give a wave, Russ. He's in the Southeast Regional Office. And Helen Sewers is in the Southeast Regional Office as well. And you're lucky because you get 3 RTCA people working on this project. And we were asked to come on and provide technical assistance by the members of the ORRT team. And we've been at this for about 1.5 years as well. And one of the ways that we're helping is doing these rivertown reviews. It's a process where we go out into communities and we help them to see what the potential is, drawing on our experience from all over the region and the country and our network of other RTCA people. We developed this Rivertown review to come in and put a fresh set of eyes on your community. It's an application process, so everybody filled out an application. We did 1 round of 3 communities already. This is our 2nd round. So hopefully we have gotten a little bit better, but we're trying new tricks, so bear with us. You sent us information about your town after you were selected to be a river town to be reviewed. We did a desktop review that you'll hear a little bit about. We also went to your town. Some of us did. Some of us can't make it out there yet. And those folks—
You don't want to, but because you're not allowed to, correct?
Correct,
Okay.
yes. We are not allowed to travel. We would love to come to Augusta and every other river town. I've been doing this for over 1 year now, and I haven't left my house. So I'm really looking forward to being out there on the river and in your town. So this is the next part of the Rivertown Review, which is the community meeting where we seek your input. We will eventually put together a package to give back to you that has all of the input that you gave us, and then our input into what you could do to further engage outdoor recreation and tourism in your community along the Ohio River. So another National Park Service layer that has been brought into the equation here is the fact that the Ohio River is part of the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. Oftentimes people think of Lewis and Clark as being out west, but within the last 1.5 years or 2 years, the eastern expansion of the Lewis and Clark Trail covered the area that you're in. And so it goes all the way to Pittsburgh, I believe now. And to tell us more about that project is Derek Schimmel, who works with Solimar International, and they are working on a geotourism project with the National Park Service. So Derek, you can take it away.
Thanks, Andrea. Hi, everybody. Recognize some of the names here. So Jana, I know we've had some conversations before. Mike, you and I have spoken as well. So it's nice to see you, everybody, again. I'm going to just share my screen here so that we can give a little example of what's going on. So this is the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail experience. So as Andrea said, this is a geotourism program. We're using a geotourism methodology to help promote sustainable tourism along the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. A lot of words. What does that mean? So as you see here, as Andrea said, the trail stretches all the way from Pittsburgh to Oregon out west and the Pacific. So since I believe it was in 2019, May of 2019, with an act of Congress, the eastern expansion was then included on the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. Being an entity of the National Park Service, that's why it had to take an act of Congress to do so. But if anybody's read the stories, you know, Mary Red Lewis very much did start in Pittsburgh and continue his way. It was in Wood River, Illinois, when he met up with William Clark, and that's why the start of the trail for a long time was right near St. Louis. But that's going into the details a bit too further in the history. What we're doing is promoting tourism in the destinations along the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. With NPS, you know, being a federal entity, they're very much concerned with the cultural heritage preservation and the that storytelling, the context of the Lewis and Clark Trail. That's really been their MO for a long time. What they've done in bringing in Solimar is trying to link the past to the present. So use these tourism entities, use the relationships with the chambers of commerce, DMOs, tour guides, museums, restaurants, beds and breakfasts, all these different places that make a place unique, and connect them with the trail so that if people are visiting Augusta, Kentucky, or out west in Great Falls, Montana, they can see the cultural heritage and the history of Lewis and Clark as it relates to the trail, but then also know where to stay locally, you know, have a local beer, eat in a local restaurant, have a couple extra days in the city to hike the trails, bike along the river. So it's a really similar mission to the Ohio River Recreation Trail, which is why we've been connected so closely for over a year now, which has been a really fantastic partnership. Just to show you a bit about the site and what it is, I should say it's completely free. Anybody can join this, any site or attraction. It's fully funded by the National Park Service. And really anybody, any business, any organization that's close geographically near the trail, we say within 5 miles of the river, would be suitable. As you see down here in Oklahoma, this is a native tribe that had relevance to the trail, and as a result of Lewis and Clark passing through, they were pushed out and had to move to Oklahoma. So the reason I'm showing you that is because it's not necessarily geographically based solely, but also relevance as well. So if you have a business site or attraction that's related, has a historical designation, or has an affiliation with the story of Lewis and Clark, even if you're far away from the trail, we would love for you to be on board. But for the sake of what we're saying now, you know, we're going to look primarily at museums, beds and breakfasts, like I said, restaurants, breweries, wineries. I think that we have I think I saw somebody write in the chat box that they have a kayak and canoe company or storage. So something like that with the outdoor adventure is really, really relevant. Just want to show you here on the map, all these different points are sites and attractions that have been nominated, entered on. So if we come down here, we're going to see some sites that we have already in Augusta. And if we click here, one of them is the Augusta General Store. And I'm just going to reload this page so that you can see what it does when you come in. So it's a really, really cool feature. You have the map, it zooms right in to where your site is. You can do a short description up here. We want a great picture on the top. And then we have some other pertinent information about the site or attraction down below. Another one here in Augusta is the Bakerberg Winery and Distillery. Again, really fantastic picture. Description, this one's a really great one. It gives a cool history. Scroll down, you can see exactly where it is on the map, where it relates to the trail. And again, some other pertinent information. So really anybody that has that geographic location in Augusta or in the rest of the county, you know, we're welcoming your nominations. It's really easy to do. We'll follow up with an email of how to do that on the back end of this webinar, but it's really just logging in, register an account, and then you'll be able to log in and nominate anything you see fit. Just to give you one idea of some other sites and attractions, or I should say communities around the area. So this is one, Vivi, Indiana. We did I believe that was another Rivertown review that we did in
Coming up.
It's upcoming.
Coming up.
It's coming up. So you can see here, this is a great example. And I'd like to show VV because of all the great sites they have. The more sites we can attract in the area, the better, because it shows a lot of different capabilities for the tourists when they're there. And it allows them to stay a couple extra days, spend their money locally, again, steer away from the McDonald's and Marriotts of the world, and really keen in on what makes your community unique. So I like to show VV just because you can see all the different points on the map and all the different types of attractions. So the Historic Hoosier Theater, they have the Switzerland County Historical Museum, the town of Vive itself. So the town itself has a page. The courthouse is a attraction that people like to go visit. The Carnegie Library, and then closer to the river here, we have Pleasant Rose Inn, so a bed and breakfast. So you start to see all of these different attractions come together to build out a great story for the community. With that, Andrea, I'll pass it over to you. Otherwise, I'll continue to talk for minutes and hours on end. But I really, again, I appreciate the time, and it's Janet, Mike, it's good to see you guys, and I look forward to connecting with the rest of the group here moving forward.
I'd like to interrupt for a second, if you don't mind, Andrea. And Derek, you're saying this website's rolling out on June 4th, National Trails Day. Could you talk about a little bit about the national exposure of it?
Yeah, and that's actually a great point, David. Actually, about 2 days ago, the National Park Service pushed back that launch date. We had been planning to launch this on June 5th, which is National Trails Day. That new launch date is going to be July 19th. It's a Monday in the middle of January, or July rather, excuse me. And the reason that date was pushed back, I'm not sure if anybody has seen this in the news, but the National Park Service, the entire entity, recently launched an app for their entire parks department. So, for example, Yellowstone has its own app, Glacier National Park had its own app, Shenandoah had its own app. All of them have been shut down. They're all going towards this main one app with that NPS is using. And we wanted to make sure we were working in conjunction with them and not against them. And there was some concern that by launching on June 5th, we might be stepping on some toes inside NPS. So we've since pushed it back to make sure the rollout of the app goes exactly as they see fit. And then we'll be able to really focus the attention on Lewis and Clark beginning July 19th. We're going to do a lot of social media sharing. We're hoping to do a social media guerrilla marketing campaign where we share all of these great social media posts amongst our different partners. All the different nominees will be reaching out. Anybody that's a partner or nominee on the site will be receiving a handful of different social media posts that they can share. And then on July 19th, we'll be rolling out a video. So we're actually in the midst of putting together a promotional video with many of the different partners that exist along the trail. David Wicks up there on the top of my screen had a really fantastic interview that'll be featured. And it's going to be really just a great way to show the different sites, attractions along the trail and the partnerships that can take place. What makes this trail unique, unlike, the Yellowstones and Glaciers of the world, NPS doesn't own any of the land along the Lewis and Clark Trail. So they're completely dependent on partnerships with Chambers of Commerce, with the Ohio River Recreation Trail. All of these different partners are what make this system go around. And it's, partnerships as in any sort of consulting gig, especially, as it relates to a trail that's so long, are so important. They're of utter importance. And, with this platform being completely free and funded by NPS, we're doing our best once we launch to operate in a system that provides items of value to you, the partner. So this being through webinars, educational workshops, social media takeovers, different marketing campaigns and possibilities, all these different items to help really spread the wealth amongst the community and make tourists aware of this trail as the tourism season this summer picks up, which we're expecting to be really, really busy, as I'm sure everybody is thinking the same. Helen,
And Derek, what's that date in July?
July 19th.
That's when the new platform goes live, is that right?
Correct. So the site is live now. What I just showed you, lewisandclark.travel, anybody can access it. Anybody can see it. It's being picked up by all the search engines, but we haven't done any sort of promotion for the site yet. So that's what's going to happen. We're seeing a steady stream of traffic, X amount of visitors every day, every month. But once we launch this, it's really going to become a lot more popular. We're going to see traffic start to move. And it's interesting because, with most sort of web projects, we want to see as much traffic as we can, people clicking on the site, digging around the site. But with ours, we want to see a higher bounce rate. So we want people to come in, we want people to find the sites, find a restaurant, museum, bed and breakfast in the community, and then leave our site and go to their particular web page. So it's a really interesting project that, makes our end goal being the partners having more traffic and visitorship.
Hey, Derek, thank you very much, buddy. It's great. I think this is a wonderful example of here's the National Park Service promoting Augusta, right? And promoting all the river communities along our section of the Ohio River, creating much more exposure for the Parkview Country Inn, for the Bakerberg Distillery and Winery and Distillery, for the American General Store, which we had a great lunch there today, for example. So it's another way to help reach a wider audience of folks around the country with information about the assets and amenities that exist in this community and throughout Bracken County. So thank you very much.
So thank you, Derek. Derek has tuned in from Colorado, so we appreciate him coming all that way. And that digital format that Derek described is just one tool that we have. And it's a really great one. And another one that we have is the digital guide that has been produced by OKI, and Brewster's going to talk a little bit about that.
Well, thanks, Andrea. When we started this project, we thought, gee, we need to find or create a way for people who are paddlers, power boaters, anglers, cyclists, hikers, and motorists to find out important information, as is the case with the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail, about where they can stay, where they can dock, where they can get gas, where they can put their boats in the water, where they can camp, as well as information about special events and safety on the Ohio, information about the river itself, water state, river levels, weather, etc. So we created the our website, which is, as you can see, Ohio River Recreation Trail. And within that website, we've created what's called the Digital Guide to the Ohio, which is a similar kind of GIS mapping system that allows points of interest, whether it be, again, a fuel dock, a marina, a boat ramp, et cetera, to be incorporated into this real-time digital piece, so that if you're on the Ohio River in a boat or on your bike, in real time, if you use your phone and use your location services, you can see that blinking little dot. That's you in the Ohio or you on a trail. And you can see nearby what is available. Where are the restaurants and places you can spend the night, whether it be this beautiful facility here at the Parkview Country Inn or at a camp or a campground. You'll see where the local amenities like liquor stores, for those interested in that, maybe, or a bait shop if you're a fisher man or woman. So we've created this digital guide, which also has built-in safety features. So the red line in the middle, as you can see, this is a version of what the digital guide looks like. That's the sail line where the barges go. We also have in there, although you don't see it here, the mile markers. So you know, for safety purposes, I am at mile marker so-and-so on the Ohio if there's an accident or a problem. And you can, that helps to get safety forces, rescue folks there much more quickly. We also have integrated into this what we call the AIS system, so that you can see in real time where the barges are on the Ohio, the name of the barge, a picture of the barge, in some cases, the speed the barge is going, and of course the direction. And that's updated every 15 seconds. So it's a real valuable safety tool, which is why the Coast Guard in the greater Cincinnati area, with whom we work very closely, sees this as a model for the rest of the country. What we're doing to provide real-time safety and also information about the amenities in the water, on the shore, and on the land, away from the river itself. So all this is designed to make it as easy as possible for people who are interested in outdoor recreation to find out where they can go, what they can do, what the amenities are along the way, and the built-in safety value. So that's enough for that, but it's a very incredible tool. Is that okay, Andrea? Is there anything else you want me to mention that I missed maybe about that?
No, I think that's really good. So we have two really awesome tools that are available for you to use at no cost. And we invite you to embrace all that these tools offer. We will be sending information in our follow-up email right after this community visit that will provide you with the links and instructions on how to use these as well.
You can see on the map at the bottom, we are starting to build out the points of interest in Augusta. The Parkview is on here, by the way. The general store is on here. Of course, the boat ramp, O'Neill, the boat ramp and walk, and of course the Augusta River Park and boat ramp are on there, and of course the ferry and the beehive. But we will probably add 20 more. Okay, and we'll be working closely with Janet to make sure that all the key points of interest in Augusta are added to this incredible database. And by the way, yesterday, the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Regional Council of Governments, which did this project for us at no cost to us, which is wonderful, just submitted an application for a national award for this digital guide to the Ohio. So hats off to all of you. So what I'd like to do before I turn it over to Russ is just briefly have Janet welcome and introduce some folks who just joined us. Janet.
Oh, yes. Earl Bush, he was our previous judge executive for Bracken County, and Tina Garden is in his place now. So thank you, Earl, for attending. Also, I've seen Dinah Bird on here. Dinah, she's the owner of Bakerberg Winery and Distillery, and thank you, Dinah, for jumping on board today.
Anybody else who hasn't been introduced?
I think
Okay, well, wonderful. And if you all who just joined could go into the chat, put in your name and your organizational affiliation and your email address, that would be wonderful. So now I'd like to introduce Russell Clark, and Russell's by profession a landscape architect and is, as well as Andrea, with the National Park Service's Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program, and he's just an amazing partner. He's out in Mammoth Cave, And Russ, thank you very much. Take it away, Russ.
Thank you very much, Brewster. We're about to engage in a process for you to tell us about your town. And when we look at the character and the characteristics of where Augusta is related on the Ohio River, it's essentially 43 river miles upstream. That is a locational factor. The next image on the slideshow shows a riverfront with a ferry, a launch site. And we begin to see that this community has a lot to offer in terms of this riverfront amenities just by looking at the Google Earth maps. I would like to go into the next step of our process to ask your help in telling us what you think the strengths are and the weaknesses, which are internal origins to your community, and then what are the opportunities and threats that are external. And again, remember, strengths and opportunities often correlate, sometimes being the same thing, but they're helpful. And then the harmful aspects of weaknesses and threats, we're going to go through each one of these individually with a new for us software approach that I'm going to turn it over to Helen to explain the process. Helen?
Hi there, I'm Helen Sievers. I'm a colleague of Russ Clark's and Andrea Ireland with the National Park Service, Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program. And we're about to do something new together today. So I'm going to be wearing my preschool Sunday school teacher hat from time to time to both encourage you and maybe in some ways discourage you. But it's a new process. And let me just say, with the success that everybody has shown in getting your name and information into the chat box in Zoom, I am confident that we're going to be able to do this next thing as well. So I ask you to go to the chat box. And if you don't remember where that is, look at the bottom of your computer screen. And there's a little thought bubble that says chat. You want to make sure you're looking at that. And right now I am pasting in a link. It has a heading in all caps that says welcome and warm up. And all you need to do is hover over that link and it should launch a new window on your computer. And I think Brewster has a group that you're viewing with. I'm not sure if there's anybody else in a group setting. Some of my instructions won't apply to you, but I see that I already have 5 people who have entered as a guest. And so that means you're doing great. And I can see people are moving their icons around, the visiting snail, the visiting penguin. These are just randomly assigned names that are given to you as a visitor on this mural. And I'm just going to give you a few rules of engagement before we move along. One is, it's fine to move around when you're actually doing your thing, but it can be overwhelming to see all of these at once. So we ask you to sit on your hands when you're done. That's where the preschool Sunday school teacher comes into the picture. And if I have to, I will turn off your icon. But I don't want to do that. Basically, this is, as Brewster was saying in the introduction, it's like a Post-it note exercise. So you can see my green icon that's moving with my mouse. I'm going to double click and I've just created a Post-it note. And then I'm grabbing a corner and I'm making it larger. And I'm entering my favorite animal, which is a horse. And now I'm inviting each one of you to do the same. Just go and double click. You're going to create a little Post-it note when you do that. And you can start typing in that in your little colored box. When you have your cursor in there, it'll bring up a little menu bar. If you want to change the color of your Post-it note, you can do that. If you want to enlarge the word that you wrote, you can enlarge it. Or if you feel like you got carried away and you want to make it a little smaller, you can do that. I'm playing with my pink one right now. There are a lot of other features, but I think for the purposes of what we want to get through today, this is the main thing. You are learning how to write a Post-it note. You're learning how to edit it a little bit if you want to make it easier to read. And then we're going to have a little voting exercise. So let's see, we've got
I'm
2,
good.
4, 6. It looks like we have 7 entered so far, and a total of 12 users. So if there's anybody who wants just another little bit of time, I also can set a little stopwatch. I'm going to set my little stopwatch for 30 more seconds. And we'll see if we can get a little closer to full participation here. This is just a warm-up exercise. There's no pressure, no, nobody needs to get anxious. But if we can all do this, then the next thing we're going to do is a little voting exercise.
I'm gonna jump in here, Helen, for
Yeah.
just a second and say what you sort of iterated at the beginning. This is like if we were there, we really wish that we could be there in the room with you. And as facilitators, we would have whiteboards, or we would be using a wall, and we would give everybody Post-it notes and have them put their great ideas on it. And then we would move those Post-it notes around, and we'd go through an exercise where you put sticky dots on things that you like. That's what facilitation is about. And unfortunately, we don't get that people contact, but this is a really good way for you to provide your input. And that's what we're really trying to do with this meeting. This isn't just us talking to you about your town. This is you letting us know about your town. So very briefly, is there anybody who has a question that maybe you're stuck? Maybe you don't know where your cursor is.
Yes, I'm stuck. I'm in the chat box and I'm hovering over the link that you sent, Helen.
And then and then use your mouse and click on that link.
I did, and it briefly opens up and then it closes. I mean, it's like 1 second it'll open and then it closes.
Huh. Try opening your browser, whether that's Safari or Chrome or whatever it is you use. Just create a new window, Dinah, and then go over and see if you can copy that link and paste it in. Does that
the
instruction?
only way I know how to get to a browser is that I would leave this meeting, and I don't want to do that.
Okay. Try, I'm going to show you a little keyboard shortcut. I hope it'll work. Go to your keyboard and press first the Alt key and then the Tab key. Hold the Alt key down and press the Tab key, and that might take you to your browser. You'll still have the Zoom window open, but it'll be sort of hidden behind your browser window. See if that works.
Gotcha. Okay, and I've cut and pasted it into that browser. That's a trick I didn't know. And so
We're all
it's
learning here.
okay. It's trying to open up Muriel.
Yeah.
This is
inviting you as a
visitor. It's asking me your name is optional and your email. Enter as a visitor. Okay, got it.
Good. Are you the visiting elephant?
She can't see that. She can't see that she's a visiting elephant.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't appear on her screen.
I see the dog and the horse and the little notes.
Right. So your next step, Dinah, is just to find a white spot on that screen and double click, and it's going to create a new Post-it note just for you. And then you're going to type your favorite animal into it, and nobody's judging. It can be anything you want it to be.
Okay. It may be just time lag, but I am clicking on the whiteboard and nothing's coming up.
Double click.
Yeah, double clicked left, or is it a double click right?
Left.
Okay, I have double clicked left. And again, it may just be.
I tell you what, there's another way you can do this. There's a menu bar along the left side, and the second item from the top looks like a little tab. And I don't know if you can see my mouse, or it may not help. It's the one that says text. So just grab that.
Wait. Hey, Helen.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because it's locked?
Oh, that may be it. Let me try releasing. Yeah.
Thank you. That may be it.
Donna, I think Andrea was right. And I did that in advance of doing a little vote, but.
Okay, I see it now.
Yeah, good. Andrea, thank you for speaking up. There were probably other people trying to do something.
Okay, thank you.
We're all learning together.
All right.
Good.
All right. Got a
Super.
few more in there. I think we're ready to vote now.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this summon feature again, where I'm asking you all to be in exactly the same space I am. So we're all voting on the same thing. And what you're going to have an opportunity is to cast 2 votes. Maybe you couldn't decide what was really your favorite. You'd like to choose between 2. So we're going to do that now. You should have something that comes up on your screen that says begin voting. And all you do is you click on, I feel obligated to vote for the horse, and I'll vote for another one. You can cast 2 votes for the same thing, or you can vote for 2 different ones. And I can track the voting on my end.
And you won't see anybody else's votes. You'll only
Right.
see your own here.
Yes, we don't want any groupthink here. You can only see your vote while the voting is going on. But when it's done, a summary will come up automatically, and we can look at the entire vote tally.
Okay.
And let's see, we have a few that can still vote. So I'll just, I'll set us another little timer for 20 seconds. Oops. I'm trying. I'm still learning. There we go.
We appreciate your patience while we learn this new tool. It's going to be very helpful.
So just to give y'all a little mental image, those of us who are on this team were on a Zoom call yesterday to work through all of this. And unfortunately, that call was recorded. So any one of us might be subject to blackmail.
It was not pretty.
We got it done. Okay, so we are doing well. What we're going to do is end the voting session. And when that happens, you should have a screen that comes up for voting results. The top vote getter was Red Fox. Very nice. Does everybody see that? Can you scroll down and see all the votes? And you can, and it also will indicate whether they were unique votes or whether there was somebody trying to stuff the ballot box, you know, and vote multiple times for the same thing, which is, you know, just an interesting another level of detail. So now to exit out of the voting results, go up to the right corner of the grayed area. You'll see a white X. You want to press on that white X to leave the voting results. You don't want to leave the whole application, just that thing. And then we're back into our welcome and warm up. And y'all can see that we added some nice color and some nice information to our welcome and warm up exercise. Any questions before we move on to some actual activity related to Augusta, Kentucky? All right, so let me get the next thread, and I'm going to put it into the chat box.
As Helen is doing that, we need to go back to the Zoom, find the chat box, click on that SWOT analysis link, and that'll bring us to a new whiteboard, which will begin the SWOT analysis process. So please click on that link. And we enter as a guest. If you wish to put your name on, you can, or you can just enter as a visitor and you're in. And Helen will take us to our first quadrant, which will be strengths.
And Helen, I'm sorry, I forgot how to get to my browser again. Which icon did I click on?
Use the Alt-Tab key. That will
Alt.
let you toggle between the two things that you're looking at. Alt plus Tab at the same time on your keyboard.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just forgot that.
Don't worry.
It's all right.
It's a new shortcut.
Okay. And it took me back to where I got to put it in the browser. Okay, thank you.
Sure. You're doing great. I was thinking how, you know, with those, the features that Derek and Brewster shared of the online things, those are just other aspects of the kinds of possibilities that the last 15 months or so have introduced all of us to, is online resources that we might have been reluctant to try to take on, but working from home and all the other things we're doing has sort of, brought a little more sense of urgency to it. And I'm just really proud of the way y'all are catching on.
So
All right, Russ, back to you. Or Dinah, are you good now?
Yes, yes, thank you for asking.
Welcome.
You're in great. So I'm going to assume everybody's up, looking at the box that says strengths. And I'd like you to begin entering things that would be strengths for Augusta. And here's some of the things you might consider. What are some of the aspects that you could build on in your community? The things that your community does well? What are your unique resources? And please put a separate Post-it note for each idea that you generate. What are the qualities that might separate your community from your competitors? What are some potential internal resources, such as skilled, knowledgeable staff, etc., that you have available that other communities might not have that would be considered strengths? Tangible assets that are available to your community, location, resources, etc. And what do others see as your strengths in your community? What makes your community unique? That's a strength. And so I'm looking for all those types of ideas to be posted here. And Helen, Andrea, and I may move your Post-it note around to keep making space on the whiteboard. Don't worry, we're not going to lose it. We're just going to make sure everybody has room to add their ideas. And you can go outside the line if you need to on strengths into that quadrant. If it can't fit in the grade box of strengths, that's fine. So we can use all the area that you see there in that quadrant of strengths. You're doing great. I'm getting a lot of good ideas here. What makes Augusta unique? And what qualities do you have to separate you from the competitors?
Yeah, this is great input, y'all. I'm going to turn off the little icons that show your cursors just to maybe make it a little less visually cluttered, but you can still grab the Post-it notes that you have written and move them around or make them larger if you need to. And remember, there's that, if you make a note, and there's a little menu bar that comes up above it, and you can enlarge the text by hitting the A+ to make your text larger. So there are ways, if you're having trouble seeing it, you can tweak it.
Everybody's doing great here. Just keep adding your Post-it notes and your thoughts. And this is where you're telling us what you feel are the strengths of your community.
Yep, you're the brain trust of Augusta today. We need everything that you can think of.
That is correct. And if we were there in person, we'd be asking you to do this with Post-it notes, sticking it on the wall or a whiteboard yourself. And then we'd look at how we would maybe categorize these. So with this software, before we leave strengths, we will actually do a poll as to which ones you think are the highest priorities. And we'll explain that in a couple minutes here. We want to make sure everybody gets a chance to post their strengths.
It's looking great.
Yes, it is.
We budgeted a little bit more time for the learning curve, so y'all are doing a good job.
And I'm very impressed with how quickly this is going.
Now, don't be sneaking off into the other quadrants and working ahead. We're only working on strengths right now.
That's right. We're going to
Look
do
at all these Post-it notes. This
Yeah.
is great.
like I said, we can always post them outside the gray box above strengths and beside it in that quadrant.
Yeah, in fact, I'm zooming out just a little bit in case you feel like you need a little more room.
That's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to grab one that ended up kind of at the edge, moving that into this box.
And sometimes we do get repeats, and that's okay. When it comes to the voting process, we'll vote for that particular item, might get multiple votes, so that's fine. But from my observations, looking at the community and from my home office is Google Earth, the ferry is a very unique asset that the community has, and very pronounced there on the waterfront.
And just so y'all know, Andrea is the Post-it note exercise queen, and she is getting to work doing what she would do in real life. She is the visiting shark, and she is moving. She's starting to cluster things, you know, so similar ideas are together. And so don't worry that your comment is leaving the board. It's just being moved around. And if we're at the point to just let Andrea do her work, I don't know. Do y'all think that's where we are, or do people have more to add?
We are, the pace is slowing down. I noticed that.
Uh-huh.
Just give it a little bit more time to add any last thoughts here. This is a lot more Post-it notes than I was expecting.
Yeah, I have a lot here.
Let's let Andrea work.
Yeah, you know, Russ, one idea is that we could move to the next one while Andrea is doing the sorting here, or should we just stay with this and do the voting?
We can, let's do that, Helen. That's a great idea. Keep everybody engaged. Let's move on to weaknesses. We'll come back and vote all 4 quadrants after we're done posting.
Okay, so Andrea, I'm going to summon everybody to move to the next quadrant, and you can just be sneaky and go back to strengths. All right, so now we're moving to the next one, weaknesses.
Weaknesses, again, what are some of the weaknesses in the community, such as things to overcome? What could you improve in your community? Thoughts on that? Things your community lacks. What's not there that you think should be there in your community? Things that your competitors may do better than you do. Where do you have fewer resources than others? And what are others likely to see as your weaknesses? Those are the types of thoughts and ideas that we'd like to capture in this category. And it looks like we've got a lot of pros with this software already here. Look how fast that's populating. Weaknesses, things that the community needs to overcome that are basically internal origin. What could we improve?
Because I don't know Augusta, I'm going to ask this question. There's a Post-it note here for the variety of eateries, but that might have been intended as a strength and it just ended up here instead. Can the person who posted that tell me what the intent was?
Yeah, it was intended to be a strength because we have several eateries and we can accommodate a lot of people at different price ranges.
That's easily moved. I just didn't want us thinking about it in the wrong way.
That's great. Thank you. Again, we're still at this point focusing on weaknesses, things that maybe competing communities are doing better than you, that you wish you could do, if they have that you don't have. Challenges that there are in the community that need to be overcome. And I see for most river towns, I see that pink ticket there with floods on it. That's a challenge almost all the river towns deal with. So that's a common theme throughout with all of our projects. And I see Andrea's working very diligently in the background there up in strengths, categorizing things. And that'll make it much easier for us to think about the voting process to what we think our priorities should be. And for us, it's important to get your opinion on what you think the highest priority for each of these 4 categories, because that starts to lead into the brainstorming process of what we might want to be looking at for short-term and long-term objectives for the community. We're still populating quite well here on weaknesses.
It's looking good, y'all.
Yes, we'll go another minute maybe on weaknesses and make sure that all the last ideas are captured. And then we'll have Andrea continue to play a little catch up here with recategorizing things or organizing them in groups. And don't be concerned if you see the same ideas come up and opportunities that you had in strengths, or things and weaknesses come up in threats. That happens because it's a similar type of category. The only difference between strengths and opportunities is internal and external factors influencing those ideas or issues. Okay. Again, we can place this post-it notes outside the gray box if we need to. It's not a problem. All right, still have one coming in here, another one. Any more coming in? Anybody want to take a little more time on this, or are we ready to move on? I'm going to ask for opinion on that.
We're ready to move on here.
Okay, then let's do on. We're going to go on to opportunities. Helen?
Okay. So I'm just summoning you to another quadrant here.
Great.
And let's see, asking everybody to follow along.
Right. Opportunities, things to explore. What should we be looking at to improve our community? What are the underserved markets in our community for both the visitor and the resident? What's an emerging need for your community? That's an opportunity. What trends could you take advantage of that are happening now that you haven't taken advantage of in the past?
And y'all are coming right out of the gate with some great ideas.
Yeah. What don't we have that would make our community better? And how can you turn your strengths into opportunities? Those are the kind of the leading questions to think about when you're posting ideas for opportunities. Things to explore, underserved markets, emerging needs, trends to take advantage of, what don't we have that can make our community better, and how can you turn your strengths into opportunities? We've got a team of pros working here, Helen.
Right on.
Yeah.
And Janet, it looks like you're entering ideas for the folks you have in the room there with you. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes. And take what time you need. If we're pushing you too much, let us know.
Yeah, we want to balance, moving along with also getting the quality of information that you bring to this setting. We don't want to take shortcuts and miss out on hearing your thoughts.
Absolutely. Opportunities. What are the opportunities for Augusta? What don't you have that can make the community better? Underserved markets. Any and all thoughts you might have related to that. And what should be explored for Augusta? Oh, bike trail to Maysville. I love that. Better, kayaking better. Okay. Bunge is a pretty common theme too. Mystery tours, great idea.
I just realized we have several visiting sharks. I thought it was all, I thought it was unique ones. So Andrea is the gray visiting shark.
Okay. All right. And we have no control over what sign you're given here with this.
Right. No value judgment there. I would take it as a compliment though if I got the sloth.
Oh, this is filling up nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like we're starting to slow down a little bit here. So take this time to fill in any last thoughts you have for opportunities for Augusta. Put it on your Post-it note so we can capture that.
I'm trying to put these into groups. You'll see it isn't a perfect science here. The other thing we forgot to say is all is forgiven as far as spelling until these Post-it notes come with a spell check. You can spell it however you want. However, I don't know what this one thing is. I'll put it over here in this one. Lots of butter ebb. Any ideas? Okay.
Butter?
The answer will always be butter.
Right.
Butter. Lots of butter in Augusta. Right.
That sounds great. Well, I think we're coming near the end here on opportunities. Now we have one more quadrant to explore.
Okay, so I will summon you to the bottom right quadrant, which is threats.
Right. And in this, we're looking at, things to minimize. What are the threats to Augusta? What threats could harm you? What threats do your weaknesses expose to you? Emerging competitors. What do you feel are threats for the community of Augusta? Resistance to change, floods, yes, very good ones. Aging population, these are fairly consistent items being noted here from past Rivertown reviews. What are the items that need to be addressed as threats? Things to minimize. What's out there that could harm your community? Any changing regulatory type of aspects that are happening that could affect the community? And I can tell you from past experiences, the strengths and the opportunities list are usually much longer. And this today has shown that again, which is fine. That's a positive note. But we need to be cognitive of what the threats are and what the weaknesses are to overcome. And so capturing this information is important to help set the stage for recommendations in the future. Yeah, limited income streams, not enough funding. Yep. Resistance to change. Everybody, you're doing great on this. This is fantastic information. And the way we've done Rivertown reviews in the past, just so you're aware, is we ask folks to put their thoughts in the chat box, but this is much more entertaining. And from the standpoint that we get to see your ideas come up in a Post-it note and move it around, and then be able to move it like we would physically if we were there doing the whiteboard into groupings. This is far better from the standpoint of us being able to organize all this input. And being able to vote in real time is also a real time saver here. In the past, we had to do different types of polls and then create the questions and then get the polling and then show the results at a later point. Here we're able to do it all almost instantaneously. So when we get done with the SWOT analysis, we'll have identified a whole list of different ideas for all 4 categories. And with your help with the voting process, you will help us prioritize what your top 3 votes are for each of these categories. Are we slowing down on threats?
Yep.
Okay. Everybody's got their threats in?
Our brains are drained here.
Okay, all right, we have brain drain in one sector. All right.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I'm going to zoom out so we can look at the whole thing. That is what we produced.
Okay, I'd like to capture that in a snapshot.
First, we got to celebrate. Well done, everybody.
Hey,
Where's the confetti
good job,
here?
everybody.
You got that, Jim. Nice.
Let me take a minute just to get a snapshot of it. Got too many screens open here. And then we're going to start our voting. Okay, very good.
Excellent.
So, Andrea, do you feel like we're in good shape to start with strengths?
Yeah, I think she's got that.
Good enough. It was
Yeah.
my first one, and there was a lot going on there. So
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So I'm going to summon everybody back to that corner, just the quadrant where that is for strengths. And I think that where I frame it is the only area where you can cast a vote. And that's why it's important that I frame it correctly, because we don't want to be casting votes for the wrong things. So there we are. And the way we're going to set this up is each of you are given 3 votes, right? 3 votes, Russ?
Correct. That is correct. 3 votes.
So you can cast those for 3 different things, or you can cast them all for 1 if that's where you think you want to place your emphasis. And I'm not going to set a timer on this first one. I'm not real sure how long it might take us, but I am just setting up the details, and then it'll be obvious to you when the voting begins. And begin the voting.
Voting begin.
So I can monitor how many votes have been cast. If there's anybody who's on and you just aren't taking part for whatever reason, that's fine. But that you might let us know just by unmuting and saying so, and then we'll know when we're done. But we got some pretty aggressive voting going on here, I can tell you.
aggressive voting.
Like quick.
Quick,
Okay.
quick.
And then can we vote 3?
3 votes.
She can also vote. Oh, that's a shame.
What do you have the next screen? The next box?
Yeah.
You get the opportunity box. You do such a good job. Oh, no, I don't know. I just go with the flow.
Oh, Janet, I didn't think about how you're maybe disabled with more people in one room. But But I have 3 votes I'm not casting. So if you want to, if somebody in your room wants me to be their proxy, I'll do that.
Put it in chat.
She'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
And then you be our proxy voter. I love it. It's
Yeah.
very illegal. You can go to jail doing this in America, but
We are not going down that road, Brewster.
Hey, Helen,
Yeah.
just one other thing. I can't rearrange the threats anymore because I'm locked into voting. So just so you-
Gotcha. Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
That's all right. I appreciate it.
Okay.
just send it to them real quick. Okay, in the chat box.
Right.
But you guys really-
Janet, I appreciate your effort to maintain, not anonymity, but confidentiality here. That's good.
Right.
Okay. I really wanted to vote, so I'm glad I get this chance.
Helen, you could very easily just expand the number of votes and all of us be honest, and then have Janet have 10 or 12 if there's other people in the room.
Yeah, you're right. That's a way we could do it. What do y'all think?
Just give her-
Those of you in Augusta, does that
Give everybody 6 votes. Nobody else vote anymore. Janet will vote for the additional 3.
Okay. That
yeah,
works.
because I can't find those quickly.
It's all good.
She's
So,
good.
let me just do this. I think it might be hard to do a new voting session.
We're fine. We're fine. I
I
think we're
just
fine.
need somebody to help me find them. The ferry, there's the ferry. Bed and breakfast.
Great. You've got it. And a winery.
Okay. Oh, well, I will, there we go. Okay, good. So I'm going to end the voting session. Is that good?
Yep.
Everybody had the time they needed? Okay, and now we're gonna bring up the results.
Wow.
Oh,
Go,
geez.
Donna.
Oh my gosh. It's all about
It's all
Baker.
about the,
It's all about booze. That's right.
go, Jenny and Terry.
Baker won 2 different times.
Now, if we were in a room together, we would put all of these on top of each other, so you would only vote for Bakerberg once,
Right.
or as many times as you wanted to, but they wouldn't have separate categories.
That would be 9 votes, so that's pretty impressive.
We
Well
noticed
done.
we don't see a raise for Janet on here.
That came
was
up on our
nice.
trial run yesterday.
That was yesterday.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Everybody's seen the results. We'll exit out of that.
Yeah, remember on your own screen, you need to press the white X near the top on the right, not at the top. You don't want to close your browser, just close the voting session. So we're ready to move to weaknesses, Russ?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I will summon you to the next one. Actually, hold on, let me change that. We got a few things that are off the screen.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, it's all right. You did great. You did
Yes,
just
thank
great. Okay, so now we are going to do another voting session. Do we do 3 votes or do we need to do something differently this time?
Let's
we'll
stay
just-
with 3 votes.
Okay, all right. So we're going to
The
start another
system.
session with 3 votes. And there you go.
Gotta say, this is working out even better than I anticipated. Anybody need more time?
Okay. I think we're good.
Let's see, I'll look at the summary. Yeah, looking pretty good.
I did not vote, so.
Right, yeah, there are a few that haven't voted, but as I think of it, it's most of us who are staff, so yeah. All right, so we're done with that, is that right?
Yes, please.
We're gonna end the voting session and look at the results.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Wow.
This was weaknesses.
Right.
It's very interesting that floods didn't rank very high.
That's right.
That is interesting.
Yes.
People just deal with this.
Yeah, we do.
Just deal with it.
Yeah, it's the nature of things.
Yeah, you can't do anything about it, so.
Very true. Well, this is great, folks. Thank you very much for your participation here. I think we could move on to the next quadrant, Helen, after exit out and voting results here. We'll go on up to cast a vote and opportunities, please.
Okay, so I've tried to summon you to that quadrant, opportunities. And we will start another voting session.
Begin voting. We're getting to be pros at this.
Right.
I'm very curious to know what opportunities are at the jail. Are those personal growth opportunities? Not knowing what the jail is in Augusta.
It's very historical.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a historical asset.
It's the oldest jail that has been preserved in Kentucky.
Okay.
And it's a very, they had jails a lot different than what we do today.
Okay.
Is it still functioning?
We would like for it to be sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not currently used to house anyone. Is that right?
Okay. It looks like I could only vote once. Did I make a mistake somehow?
There should be 3 votes. Just try moving to another Post-it note and clicking on it. And if you don't like where you cast a vote, you can right click and remove your vote.
Okay.
Looks like I can only vote one time.
Dinah, if we can try the same thing, I can cast a vote on your behalf if there's been
Well,
a
Janet
hiccup.
says you can only vote once as well.
Huh.
I know that sometimes if you didn't click on a Post-it note specifically, it casts your vote in the square. So you would get a little number in the corner.
Yeah, I
Hopefully-
did. That's what happened. I got a number in the corner.
Yeah, so
Ah.
just right click on that number in the corner and you can move it somewhere else.
Yeah, and it should go from a 1 to a 0. I thought we figured out a workaround on that. I'm sorry that was an issue.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Mike Perlberg really helped us with some troubleshooting on that yesterday.
It's a layer
Uh-oh.
thing, right, Mike? It's a layer thing.
Right.
You gotta watch out for those layers. They'll get you every time.
I did my best, Mike.
Oh, so I have to hit Alt Tab.
Any luck, Dinah?
Yeah, I had to go back. I think I kicked myself out somehow. So I'll put it in the browser again real quickly.
And you can also send me your votes in the chat if you want, because I have 3 uncast votes.
Okay.
And Brewster doesn't need to know about it.
Jones, do you?
So I'm gonna Alt Tab. Okay. I'm just gonna do it real quick here. Maybe I can do it, just get back where I was at.
I don't know if you can enter a voting session that's already underway. I'm just not sure
Okay,
whether it's
Okay.
set up that way or not, Dinah.
Okay, well, it says begin voting, so I'll see if I can.
Oh, good. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Great.
Well done. Look at you.
What you just put in the chat. Hey, Helen?
Yeah.
Janet's going to have to put a couple things in the chat. Apparently she's locked out.
That's great. I'll be looking for them.
Great. We'll look at wrapping this up here shortly when Helen is able to enter the votes from the chat, and we'll see the results for opportunities.
So Janet's entering into the chat right now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Got it.
thank you.
So I just might need help finding them. Funds, got it. Transportation. Somebody feel free to tell me where to go. Oh,
Middle
okay.
bottom, blue.
And then history walks. Okay. I found walking tour. Is there one that, oh, history walks.
Okay, can we post the
Oh,
results?
you know what? Guess who voted on the frame? I did. There we go. Okay, so in the voting session. I've never seen that before, that funds is a top vote getter. Huh.
No kidding, as an opportunity. No, as an opportunity, usually it's a weakness or a threat. I mean, it's always.
Okay, have we posted the results?
Do you not see the voting results come up, Russ?
We did not.
Okay, I see. I see them.
We see them.
Okay, good. Good. That's fine.
All right.
Well, I wonder if I can, I'll X out of that and then maybe show them again.
That's all right. As long as
Okay.
we-
Well, we'll move on to threats then. Is that good?
That's fine, please.
Okay.
We're running a little
So-
behind. We need to pick up speed here.
Right. Let's see. This is a two-step process. I'm summoning you all to that corner, and then I'm going to start a voting session with 3 votes for threats. And voting begins. This is one that Andrea was not able to group and cluster as much because I had her sort of locked out.
Yeah.
Andrea, maybe we'll have a workaround figured out by the next session.
There didn't appear to be as many in this box anyway, so that's easier.
There typically are not as many in the threats box.
And we have an optimistic bunch here, which is great.
Yes. We got our votes in?
Yep.
I think we're just about there. Yeah, we do. So I'm going to end the session.
Resistance. We knew that was going to.
Well,
Awesome.
that's a
Yep, that's okay,
good
great.
representation.
Yes, thank you for the input. Well, I want to thank everybody for their participation in this exercise. I think that, again, congratulations in order for your efforts in learning this software capabilities. And at this point, we are concluding the SWOT analysis portion of our presentation. And I'm going to turn the back over to Andrea and Brewster. Andrea is going to share her screen with the PowerPoint, and Brewster's going to give us a little update on the community visits.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. And Andrea's got some shots here that she will apparently keep on or move as I speak. But what I'm going to do is try to move through this as quickly as I can. I'm going to start with the visitor assessment, just highlighting some of the things that those of us who volunteered to visit the town 3 different times over the last 2 weeks, came up with, that were identifications of incredible assets from our point of view, a lot of which were already pointed out in the presentation, well, in the voting, and then some judgments about how to build on those assets going forward. So, the bottom line is you have a 1.6 square mile town with 1,200 people or so. It's small, but mighty, and just amazing what's going on in this community from our point of view. And it is, I think, true, as the USA Today says, Augusta is the most picturesque town in Kentucky, which is a heck of an asset to be able to tout from them. But, you have the ferry, you have the 1812 jail, you have this Native American burial ground, 1811 jail, this amazing Native American burial ground, which is fascinating to people, and hopefully that can be spread. You got the Augusta College with all of its history as being the center of the anti-slavery movement in the mid-1800s. You have the Payne House in Whitehall, safe houses on the Underground Railroad. You have a lot of history right there. The Battle of Augusta, you actually saved Cincinnati by making
We saved Cincinnati.
across the river and march down to Cincinnati and nail my house. So thank you very much for that. You got the Bakerberg Winery and Distillery, which this is so unique and fascinating, and also with the Augusta Distillery coming on board for expanding. That's huge. Beehive, everybody knows about it. You got the Clooney family, as I say. We saw Nick and Nina over lunch today at the restaurant. So, and of course the museum. So this immediate identification by so many people around the world about Augusta, given the Clooney family, which is a heck of an asset. So you have stunning sunrises and sunsets, which Janet does an amazing job of putting on the Facebook page every day. Just about. You have easy access through Route 8 and AA Highway, and of course across the River 52. You have the O'Neill River walk and boat landing, the Augusta River boat ramp, a River Park boat ramp. Just real assets that a lot of towns don't have at all, and would die to have what you have in terms of access to the river and to the town by boaters. Cyclists can use the ferry, and 52 is a relatively cyclable route from downtown Cincinnati. Overall, the community is very walkable and bikeable, at least in the core of the town. While you don't have any paved, I recognize you don't have any paved off-road or walking trails, and bike racks is an issue, which I know you all have identified. The street signs we all found very tasteful by and large. The Welcome to Augusta sign by the ferry ramp works well. There's some areas that could be upgraded, including at the intersection of 19 and 8, where if you are stopped right there, you have to really look hard to the left to see the signs that Welcome to Augusta. I made the mistake and went 5 miles the other direction the other day. What an airhead. I mean, you have an incredible cross section of dining and lodging options, ranging from more high end to RV and tent camping. In fact, you even have the ability for people to bring their horse and park your horse trailer with your horse in it right next to where you camp. I'm sorry, what's the name of the campground? Yeah,
Cabin Creek.
Yeah, Cabin Creek. But you have Airbnbs, one with a hot tub. You have country cabins. You have a tiny house. You have a riverfront home that sleeps 12, an historic inn where we are right now. RV and tent camping. You even have the ability to stay in a tree house at Earth Joy Adventures. Just amazing. You're a center of excellence for making wine and spirits. We point that out. You have an IGA, which for people who are cycling and for paddling and boating, they can just walk 2 blocks to the IGA and get their provisions, which is very unique. among all the river towns. And of course, thanks to ours, liquor and more, you got the ability for people to buy liquor literally a block from the river. That's cool. With your boat ramp, it's again well designed. We've been down there a couple of different times. At one point, there were 7 fishing boats on trailers that had, that were waiting to leave, but they had been in the water right there. One time, I came across a couple who had between them, I think 5 or 6 kids. They had 6 kayaks. 3 or 4 times a month, they paddle as a group on Bracken Creek, and they just absolutely love it. What they also love, by the way, is when Shaq's Yaks comes to town, and they were suggesting that the town can make a bigger deal about that, and maybe if they came once a month, that there could be like a mini festival with music, a food truck or 2, who knows, but sort of make it a big deal, like a mini paddle fest every first Saturday, whatever, of every month, if that can be worked out. The plans you have for improvements in the park, River Park and the boat ramp are wonderful, with the walking path and benches, bicycle racks, adding a water fountain, creating a canoe and kayak ramp at that park. And the same thing with the plans to upgrade O'Neill River Walk and boat landing by making it more boater friendly, because of the danger of the problems that boaters find with the wake smashing their boat up against a hard surface. But if there could be floating docks, and if there could be more bumpers, that would make it even more attractive. There is a challenge with the Melville Dam being a barrier to boaters from the Cincinnati pool, from the Markland pool. So I think whatever we can do to encourage people to go through the lock and provide information about how to safely do that, that would be helpful. Bracken Creek is an incredible gem. I paddled 2.6 miles the other day up to as close as I could get to the Bakerberg Winery, and it's just a stunning paddle. So all kinds of wildlife, the herons, the ducks, the geese, little geese, a wild turkey, of course, turtles, etc. It's also, I think, the top, my sense is, talking to fishermen, the top destination for anglers. It's a very productive fishery for crappie and for bass. People love it. And the Bracken County Recreation Park, again, just 3.5 miles of downtown. Thanks to the Judge Executive, Tina showed us around, and Earl, thank you very much. That was it was quite a wonderful afternoon we spent with you all out there, understanding what your plans are for turning that, for further building on that asset. You have 20 miles of horse trail, which is astounding. I mean, what an asset for people who are into horses, to be able to bring the horses and use that 20 miles with potential plans to expand, upgrade the bathhouses, etc. That's just absolutely amazing. And you got the Wildfire Equestrian Facility about 9 miles from here, and I understand you can rent horses there. So the idea that this can be a destination for people who love horses is a fascinating concept. And then your carriage rides. Everybody loves to ride a carriage. And Earthjoy Treehouse Adventures, and Shelley Burns, amazing. I've known her for 15 years. And, where else can you stay overnight in a treehouse? I mean, really, think about that. Plus, hang out with trees. So a quick word or two about what visitors are saying about Augusta. The other night I was here, Saturday, there were about 50 cars on Main Street and Riverside Drive and Parkview Street. Of those 50, at least 25 had Ohio plates. 2 were from Tennessee, 1 from Pennsylvania, 1 from Kentucky. And of course, the remaining 20 or so were from Indiana. The remaining were from Kentucky. It just shows how many out-of-state travelers or visitors you host here. One very stylish upscale couple was from Nashville. They made their reservation for the 114 Main Street house with the hot tub on their way here. They had no idea where they would stay. Just got online. It was available, which is amazing. There's a mother and daughter from Winchester here for Mother's Day weekend, and they had a wonderful time. They were antiquers. A couple from Florence came to visit the Bakerberg Winery and had dinner at the Beehive. They visit twice a year, every year. There were 4 30-something women together from Cincinnati to spend the afternoon and evening. They ate at the general store. Only one had ever been here before. And there was a daughter of the former mayor, Lewis Hambernell, right? Jr., right? And so his daughter and her kids were here to visit Dad. And they haven't been here for over a year, okay, given COVID. So I just bumped into them. There was a father and son and his girlfriend from Dayton who drove out for the afternoon and evening. They don't like Dayton at all. They love being here. They keep a boat at Eagle and a trail at Eagle Creek Marina, 12 miles upstream, right? And they just love coming here. And they had comments about the dock, about how it could be more safe for power boaters. But they just said this is the best place in the world. They come out here almost every week. Okay. There were 2 Augusta couples. Eve, I told you about the folks who were paddling up Bracken Creek. And then finally a couple from Lebanon. We're visiting the Bakerberg Winery. When I was there with Dinah in my life jacket, interrupted their visit, but they had a wonderful time. So some quick observations and suggestions. In many ways, you guys are a model for river towns working hard to attract visitors and investments. There's so much that people can learn, I think, from other communities about what you have done. But a couple suggestions here. Some ideas to attract even more visitors looking for unique outdoor experiences within a short drive of Greater Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington, Columbus, etc. And that will also in the process make this even more attractive and improve the quality of life of your own residents. So one, we suggest, and Janet and us are working this already, but developing a section of the website that specifically promotes the outdoor recreation opportunities. Boating, fishing, paddling, bird watching, cycling, camping, horseback riding, water skiing, tree climbing, etc. Okay, build on the success of Shacks Yaks by having this pop-up deal, maybe on a regular basis. With Shacks Yaks is open to do that, and maybe make that, as I say, like a mini paddling festival with a little more excitement, because people love it apparently. So, and then consider organizing perhaps a bigger annual paddling event, taking advantage of the Bracken Creek, which is perfect for races and clinics and boat demos by outfitters, maybe some interactive exhibits about nature and animals and the environment, perhaps tied to the school district, maybe helping produce that. How about an annual kayak fishing tournament? It's a big deal. People spend a lot of money and they'll stay here, perhaps. Anyway. And then we've been working with Dinah on this, but a 2.6-mile paddle and sip kayak raft up the Bracken Creek. If we can figure out, Dinah, is to how to figure out how to get out of the boat and safely walk up to your place, which we're working on. But imagine that would be a unique experience. And Shacks Yaks to help promote that. Okay. We talked about the O'Neill River Walk and making that dealing with the boat bumper issue. Offering overnight tent camping somewhere along the shoreline where people maybe register in advance with the police department so they know who's there. It's not for vagrants, okay?
Hey, Brewster?
Yeah.
We got to wrap it up because we have 15 minutes left and we really want to hear from them.
Okay.
But I want to assure them that they will get the results. We will be sending out all of the summary that Brewster was talking about and the results of the desktop survey as well, the overview of your internet presence. That will be coming to you in a report after the Rivertown review.
Good. Thank you. I apologize. Thank you.
That's okay. Sometimes he could talk forever and it's great. We just want to listen to him. So we're going to move on to some brainstorming ideas. We want to hear a little bit more from you, and especially since you are so good at using the tools that we have given you. So for the brainstorming, this is a chance for you to talk about what your ideas for Augusta are. We are going to be thinking in terms of enhancing outdoor recreation opportunities and promoting tourism related to the Ohio River. All ideas are welcome. There are no bad ideas. Crazy ideas are welcome. Those crazy ideas have to start somewhere. You're encouraged to build upon other ideas, and we're going to try and generate as many ideas as possible during this session. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here so that I can see my notes. And Helen is going to give you a prompt.
I just did. It's in the Zoom chat box again. So you'll click on that link as you've done before, and it should bring you into a new mural screen, and you will enter with a different avatar or icon. It won't be the same one that you had in the previous mural. You didn't do anything wrong. We're just in a new mural. So you are a new anonymous contributor. And here you see an overview of how we set this up for brainstorming, that we want your ideas posted into All Ideas Are Good. I'm not sure we have time to do the the further sorting into short-term and long-term ideas, I'm going to pass it over to Russ to facilitate this.
Actually,
I think Andrea is facilitating this part.
yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Passing it over to Andrea.
Yeah. So if you could just focus us in on all ideas are good.
There we go.
All ideas are good, and we won't have time to sort them into short-term and long-term, but we'll probably do some of that work for you and send it back out. All of the results from all of the work that we have done today will be coming back out to you for more input. Like you go home and you think, oh, I forgot to tell them about this great asset that Augusta has. And so you will have another opportunity to put more information into it. So I'm just going to talk my way through this a little bit to give you some ideas to prompt your what you're putting in on the Post-it notes. We are brainstorming ideas for communities to enhance outdoor recreation and promote tourism. You might want to be thinking about this in terms of COVID. How are you going to recover from the past year? What are some long-term things that you could be doing in case there is, God forbid, another COVID or the next big event? How can you make it through that? We hear a lot about how recreation, parks, natural space was so beneficial during this past year. So maybe there are some ways that you can capture that going into the future, because we believe that people will continue to use outdoor spaces as a safe place and a place of respite. So be thinking in terms of that. Let's see here. Given everything that you've heard a lot from not only the Lewis and Clark Trail, but the Ohio River Recreation Team. You've heard from each other in your ideas in the SWOT analysis. You heard all the great things that Brewster said about your town. And you've had a chance to think about what are some of the things that you could be doing. Now, some of these will be repeats from the things that you put in opportunities or strengths, things that you could be doing in order to capture this outdoor recreation. You might think of it in terms of this. If you had a magic genie and you could ask them for anything for Augusta, what would you ask for? We all know it's going to be money, but think about the next thing that they could do. What are ideas that you have to further engage your town with the Ohio River? What about engaging with the Ohio River Recreation Trail? Is going on the website and putting your locations in enough, or are there substantial other ways that you could connect with not only the ORRT, but the other communities along the river? Maybe there are some trip events, long distance trips. Maybe you've heard of the Great Allegheny Passage. It's 300 miles of connected river or trail towns. And perhaps you could develop something like that along the Ohio River. What are other ways that you can capitalize on the fact that you are on the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail, a nationally significant trail? And what are other ways that you can capture outdoor recreation? What about those historical connections? Underground Railroad, the connections to the jail. I believe I heard Brewster say something about a burial ground.
Yes.
What are some cultural connections that you have? How has the Ohio River played into the history that is your town? And what are some programming ideas that you could capture? Are there events? Are there tours? Are there educational symposiums or opportunities that you could share with people in your town, people outside of your community, other river communities? Think short term and long term. Think about some low hanging fruit. Like, what could you do tomorrow? What sign could you put up tomorrow? Where could you put a bench tomorrow that would make a significant difference? What event could you plan for next month or 2 months from now that you could have a significant impact? Maybe a demonstration project of bring in some kayaks and let people go out in them and just give it a try. How about a bird paddle on Bracken Creek with a guide, somebody who's knowledgeable about birds? I would love that, especially if it ends at a winery. Right?
Be a bird paddle to the Bakerberg Winery. Be great.
Right. Yeah. I say all trails lead to beer, but you guys don't have a brewery yet, so we can do ice cream or we could do wine. And
We got bourbon and brandy too.
Okay, it's all bees. It's good. And how can ORRT, how can this effort that we are bringing to you, how can that be beneficial to your efforts? How can you capture that and leverage the good work that's being done by this team? Okay, still populating?
Still populating, great ideas coming up. I think that as we go forward, let us as the RTCA team take all of your ideas, maybe categorize them, and we'll send out an email to you to ask you to help prioritize in the short-term and long-term ideas and send that back to us as part of your input in this process. And as Andrea indicated, you may think of something this evening that you wish you would put on a Post-it note. We want to give you an opportunity to capture those thoughts, provide them back to us, and then again, help us prioritize some of these ideas that might be short-term or long-term. And we don't have to get all of them into one of those categories. Just what you think are the most important top 3 choices for each. And that'll help us with our recommendations. But again, if you know your community far better than I do, and your input is extremely valuable to help us help framework some recommendations for you to consider for the future.
There may also be people who couldn't join us today. And if you'd like to gather their thoughts and input and send that back as well. This is just the start of a conversation.
Right, so this is, when we send you out that email, it's not limited to just you. If there are others that you would like to engage, certainly that's a possibility. Okay, I think that we're pretty good here. This is wonderful. Yay, more confetti. I'm a big confetti fan, so that's awesome.
And nobody has to clean it up, which is really nice.
Right.
The best part. So as we were saying, normally we would, or we were going to try to separate this into short-term and long-term and do some polling again so we could get your ideas, but we will be sending that out in some way, shape, or form so that we do capture that information from you. I think this is great though. You've put a lot of effort into this, and it's reassuring to see that there are so many great ideas out there, and hopefully Augusta can capture some of these great ideas and utilize them for increasing. I'll be very curious to revisit our river towns a year from now to see what things they've actually used or enacted or taken advantage of that that are working for them. I think that's where we're really going to see the results a year from now when they're doing things differently.
Andrea, why don't you just do a poll of the brainstorming ideas? You know, the top 3 or something like that, like we've done before.
Can you do that, Helen?
Sure. Let me summon you all to that spot. And then we're going to start another. Do we want to stick with 3 or do we want to stick with 3? Okay.
Fine, yeah.
That's a good idea, David.
And the voting has begun. And if anybody encounters a technical problem, let me know.
And we're sorry that they're not sorted.
Mm-hmm. True.
I bet you're wishing you had more than 3 votes now, because
Yeah, we wish we had more than 3 votes.
Architecture tours, that's cool. Yeah, and from the pictures, it looks like that would be a success.
That would be considered a low-hanging fruit opportunity. You don't have to buildings.
You're bound to have somebody who knows those stories. It's just a question of getting those stories down. Could be self-guided with a little podcast, or it could be a brochure, could be in person.
I like the scavenger hunt.
Those can really bring people out too, you know, who are doing geocaching or that sort of thing. Bring people from a distance. I did set a timer on this since we're approaching the top of the hour. We want to respect your time. So you have 15 seconds to wrap up.
This has been very beneficial for us. I really appreciate your time to look at this and give us your top 3 choices.
Okay. So let's take a look at the voting. Kayaks and bikes and walking, all active things. That's great.
Alcohol did not make it into the top level.
But getting to it did.
This is great. Thank you so much for your input.
Yes.
Good.
This is great. Okay, so I'm going to just talk a little bit about our wrap up here. Are you seeing that?
Yes.
Okay, so we will continue to invite you to look at your town with fresh eyes, especially now that you've been through this and it's really got you thinking. Continue to think about how you can look at your town differently. Write down other ideas that occur to you so that when you get the homework from us, you can add to it. Very important is what other contacts could be valuable partners. Who else would have some ideas to contribute to this? Might be inspired by the information that we've shared or the opportunities that you have. And who are the decision makers that can help make these things happen? We try to get elected officials in on these meetings often because they're the ones who can help us to make things happen, as well as other enthusiastic individuals. We will send out instructions and we ask you to visit the 3 websites, the Ohio River Recreation Trail, and within that, the digital guide, and also the Lewis and Clark site that Derek talked about. We're also going to have you describe a perfect day for a visitor in your community. This is something that we were going to try and put into the chat. Would have been a lot of typing. We would have given you a few minutes, but we ran out of time because you were all having so much fun with your Post-it notes. And then we would like you to share this work with others to generate enthusiasm within your community for everything that Augusta could be as a river town. So we don't have a whole lot of time. We will be emailing you all of the things that we got responses on, SWOT analysis, brainstorming, summaries, perfect day, and instructions. We will eventually prepare a summary of everything that we've talked about, the feedback, our suggestions for you. We will deliver that to you as a package. And we ask that you participate in our upcoming Rivertown Review Summit, which is tentatively scheduled for October in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. So, any questions from anybody?
Janet, before we leave, I just first of all want to thank Andrea. I want to thank Janet for doing a wonderful
Right.
job putting everybody together. She's the point person for this, and look forward to working with you, Janet,
Yeah.
and your team. But also, Jody has something that I think that'd be welcomed to announce.
Yeah, so one of the identified opportunities is bike racks. And at the Do Good Foundation, we're donating 10 bicycle racks to the city. They are really nice bicycle racks. And the city just has to make the installation happen and the pickup of them in Covington, Kentucky. So we're really excited about being able to help with that piece.
Great.
Thank you. They're beautiful racks.
These are industrial strength, top
Yes.
quality. You can't break into them. So anyway, thank you very much. It's been wonderful. Back to you, Andrea.
Yes, that's great news. Thank you, Jody, for that good news. What a way to end our session here. And I'm just going to share this pretty picture with you as a way to end. And thank you for having us. Thank you for inviting us in to your community to get a fresh look at Augusta. I'm excited that someday I'll be able to travel again and make it down there to Augusta. I've got a whole itinerary.